Hey folks, welcome to another joyful learning day. This is Chaitanya Gundi. I am a data analytics coach and the co-founder of Swachh Data Analytics Hub. I am on a mission to help 1 million working professionals achieve career growth by learning the skills of data science and data analytics. In data analytics domain, we need to become good at some programming languages such as Python, SQL, R, etc. Now, for someone who is new to the programming field, in this video, I will explain what is the need for a programming language and how have the programming languages evolved over the years, and further, what are the different types of programming languages that are there today. So let's start with what is meant by a programming language. Folks, we humans communicate to one another through either body language or through the language of words. Through these means, we communicate our thoughts, ideas, expressions, and feelings with one another. Similarly, if we want to communicate with a machine, specifically a computer, and we want it to perform the tasks such as calculations or other complex processes, we need to explain it in a language the machine understands. And this is nothing but a programming language. So, how have the programming languages evolved, and what are the different types of programming languages that are there today? Let's understand that. So, first, the programming languages evolved in the form of languages that the machine could understand. These were called low level languages. So, these were very close to the machine or computer and were also called as computer friendly languages. They had very little abstraction. And from the point of view of programmers, these languages were the most difficult to learn because they required a good knowledge of computer architecture and working of computer processors. Basically, two types of low level languages were there, and these are: first is machine language, which is nothing but first generation language, and then assembly language or the second generation language was developed. So machine language is nothing but the language of binary numbers 0 and 1. We know that many electronic circuits as well as logic gates have an output of either 0, that is off, or 1, that is on. These two states are also called as binary codes, and a computer just understands this language of binary coding. So, this machine language doesn't need a compiler or interpreter or any type of program to convert the code into the machine friendly language, because the machine language is directly a binary form of coding. In terms of programming, it is the fastest programming language. And as already discussed, in terms of programmers learning this language, it is having the high degree of challenge. Next comes assembly language. So this was the language that evolved after the machine language, and it's also called as second generation language. And this is slower as compared to the machine language in terms of processing. However, it is still fast when we compare it to other languages that we talk about today, like C, C++, etc. Now, machine language did not require any assembler or interpreter. However, this assembly language requires a program called assembler that can convert the assembly code into machine code. Now, examples of the second level machine language, that is the assembly language, were programming of controllers or microcontrollers such as 8051, 8086, etc. After these two machine-friendly languages, the programming language evolved into something called as high-level programming language, which are also called as human-friendly programming languages. In these languages, there is a much higher level of abstraction as compared to the low-level languages. And these high-level languages are of the following subcategories. So, before we discuss each of these different types of high-level languages, let's understand that for a high-level language, we need a compiler or interpreter that will convert the code to the language that the machine can understand. And they are very easy to work and learn for a programmer. However, they are slower as compared to the low-level languages. Now, having said this, let's understand the different types of high-level languages. First is the procedural or procedure-oriented programming language. This was the third generation programming language that was developed after the machine language. So that is after the assembly language. Now, in this programming, the major focus is on the procedure of the program and not on the data. So the programmer tries to solve a problem using certain steps or procedures. And in this programming, we create a number of statements in order to solve a problem. And it's very important to maintain the order of every step or statement. Examples of procedure-oriented language are C, Pascal, Basic, etc. After the procedure-oriented language, the next language that evolved was object-oriented programming language. In this, the most realistic programming approach for solving real-world problems was enabled because every problem was viewed as an entity or object, and the program was designed keeping the object as focus. Some of the basic concepts of this type of programming are object, class, inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, etc. And examples of this type of programming language, that is object-oriented programming language, are Java, C++, even Python, etc. Now, the next programming language is functional programming language. Here, functions are treated just like variables. So, functional programming language is also called as first class function. That data in this type of programming, once created, cannot be changed. And if suppose we want a new data, we need to create a separate variable instead of changing the previous one. And another goal of this type of programming is to keep the data separate from the function. So this is the broad overview of this type of language. And examples of functional programming language are Scala, Haskell, even Python. Python comes under not only object-oriented, but also as a functional programming language. Now, next type of programming language is problem-oriented programming language. In this, the result is retrieved without caring about the procedure or without getting into the actual complexity of the program. So this type of language is generally used for managing the databases. And here the priority is given to the data only. This type of programming language is also called as result-oriented programming language or even declarative language. For example, SQL, which is the language that is used to query data from relational databases. Some other types of or examples of problem-oriented programming language are Fortran, COBOL, etc. The next type of high-level programming language is scripting programming language. It's the language that is used for performing repetitive tasks, and this is achieved with the help of scripts. So scripting language is a runtime programming language. Examples are web scripting and web automation. Also, we can automate our daily tasks on a computer with the help of a shell script. Some other examples of scripting programming language are JavaScript, Shell, and even Python. So Python is an object-oriented programming language. It comes under the category of functional programming language. It also comes under the programming of scripting programming language. The last type of programming language, which some programmers would like to believe, is the artificial intelligence programming language, which is the latest generation that is being developed. So it's called the fifth generation programming language. Here, the code is expected to be written in the form of normal sentences that we use in our communication. So we don't need any logic or algorithm to create a program, unlike other programming languages. And the computer will perform all the tasks on its own when we talk to it in terms of normal communication. This language is still in the developmental phase and a lot of research is going on. So folks, hope you were able to relate with the logic of a programming language and were able to identify certain categories of programming languages. I believe this knowledge can help someone when they are about to learn a programming language, because a programming language is not simply a series of codes that need to be executed. Based on its purpose or its type, its learning can be focused in that direction, and one will be able to easily assimilate and practice the programming language if one knows what category it belongs to and what is the main focus in that type of a programming language. For example, if one talks about Python, then immediately one can focus on the Python as a function oriented language as well as an object oriented language. So whatever uh, classes, objects, or other requirements are there, one can focus on that while learning the language as well as while practicing its code. Similarly, when it comes to SQL, the main purpose of SQL is to retrieve the data and to manipulate the data in a big database, which is mainly a relational database. So SQL is not focused on the procedure or the step-by-step process that may be important to a language like Java or C. So hope guys, this video helps in introducing you to the world of programming languages. And in subsequent videos, we will understand about programming languages in detail and mainly focus on the programming languages that are required for data analytics. Thank you and happy learning.